Hello happy campers. You're happy when you're out there, you're camping, you're all set up in your caravan, your motorhome, camper trailer, your RV, whatever you like, whatever you're camping in, having a great time until your water pump stops working. What do you do then? This video is out there to help you try and identify the problem. A couple of quick easy fixes. Sometimes it's just an adjustment, sometimes it's a pump replacement. I'll run through how we go about easy fixes, DIY. You can do it yourself wherever you are, whether you're at home in your driveway or out in the bush or at a caravan park. It takes about 15 minutes to install a new pump, but sometimes it's a 30-second adjustment and that's all it needs. Let's get into this. I'll show you how we go about easy fixes and repairs on your caravan, motorhome, RV, camper trailer water pump. So our little Jayco Starcraft Outback is coming up for a birthday. She's nearly 10 years old. Got the birth certificate right here, 4th month, 15. So give her a little birthday present. We will be installing a new water pump. Now the old pump, and I didn't get any footage of this, was the Sureflow 4009. It was starting to make some horrible noises before it actually gave up the ghost, which I'm suspecting is in the motor itself. So with your 12 volt pumps, you've got the pump assembly in there with all your diaphragms, pressure switch on the end. I'll run through that in a bit more detail at the end and show you how to do a proper adjustment of that. But this pump, you can see it was manufactured the 13th of the 1st, 2015. So the pump's older than what the Caravan is, and it's well and truly done a good job over its lifespan. Getting 10 years out of a water pump, that is good value. We're going to install and try a new brand of pump, the C-Flow RV Supreme Mark II. Same flow rate, 11 litres a minute, but a little bit higher pressure. The Sureflows run at 45 psi, whereas this one runs at 55 psi. So it may give you that little bit more pressure, but the same water flow, so you're not going to use any more water. It's supposed to be the exact same size, a swap out replacement for the Sureflow, or Sureflow, however you want to say it. So the old pump, 11 litres a minute, it's done a great job, but it was starting to make some horrible noises, and I suspect it's bearings or something metal grinding in there. And unfortunately I didn't get any footage of that to show you what it was actually doing. It was working fine up until then, but started getting very noisy the last couple of trips before it actually gave up the ghost. I'll show you, because I didn't get any footage of actually swapping that out at the time, I'll show you how we go about installing the new pump, see how that goes. We'll trial it out, give you a bit of feedback in upcoming videos. But at the same time, we've also got an issue because we've got two water pumps in the van. We've got one under the bed, that's the main one from the two 80 litre tanks under the floor, then tucked in under the fridge in that little cupboard behind the drawer. Same pump again, the little Sureflow 4009, and that just pulls out of the 40 litre drinking water tank. Because we've got that fully isolated, we've got a filtered water tap at the kitchen and another tap that I've plumbed in on the outside of the van that makes it quick and easy for filling up the kettle or filling up the billy early in the morning, and I don't wake Mandy up while she's having a sleep in. So the problem with that one was, in under the cupboard, is the last trip out it was just running constantly and I wasn't able to adjust it so that it'd stop cycling. It'd just run constantly, taps are off, until you actually flick the switch and turn the pump off itself, it would just run constantly and it didn't matter what I did to adjust it. So because I've just put a new pump in under the bed a while ago, I'm going to remove that one, show you how to replace the pump, and I will install that pump from under the bed in there for our drinking water, and then install the new C-Flow RV Supreme Mark II under the bed as our main pump, which feeds the rest of the van, your kitchen sink, your bathroom, shower, toilet, basin, and then we'll have no more problems. But if we do, it pays to be prepared when you're out there, no matter where you are, knowing how to fix this, which is quick and easy and can save you a lot of money. Even though pumps aren't expensive, between $120 to $150, it's a lot easier. Sometimes all you need to fix it is that, a 2mm Allen key, and I'll show you that at the end. Down the other basic tools that you need is maybe a pair of pliers, a screwdriver, and a spanner. I'll show you what that's for very shortly. So we'll lift the bed up, we'll get under there. It's not in the best spot, it's tucked right in underneath that compartment at the back of the hot water system. I will show you a quick hack that I've done a while ago. Because we put a new Macon mattress Bit heavier duty mattress and a full queen size mattress on the Jayco bed frame. It was a bit heavy, which meant the gas struts weren't able to hold the weight. You don't want to be in under here bending over and it comes down on top of you. So all I've done, quick hack, bit of 25mm PVC pipe, pulled the end off the strut, slipped that on, cut it to length. So now it locks in there and there's no chance that that can come down while you're in under there. Then all you need to do is take the weight and the strut will go back down in there. Quick easy hack, a little bonus that one for you. So the water pump, it's not going to be easy to film in here, is down in there. You got your hot water system and your water pump is in there. It's not the easiest place to work on, and that's probably the most technical part of the whole job, is getting access in there. The other caravans have them mounted under the lounge, in the cupboard somewhere, probably a lot easier to work on than this one. And I think most of the Jaycos do have them tucked up under the bed. So I'll set a camera up, show you how we go about replacing this pump. It takes about 5 minutes, quick and easy. So we get this new pump out of the box and see what we've got. Get all new fittings, which we shouldn't need any of those because we're only replacing the existing. It's nearly identical to the other one. If anything, the motor's a touch longer. That shouldn't be an issue, but all the fittings are exactly the same. Same dimension across there. It's probably even the same pressure switch and everything set up. Nearly identical. I do reckon the new Seaflow Mark II is quieter than the old Sureflows. So we'll see how that goes. We'll get the old one out from under the bed and install the new. And then the one from under the bed, that will replace the one that I think is starting to have issues under there. And before we go installing the new pump under the bed, I know what fittings are on there. You've just got these spade type connectors. On the new pump, well, they all come just with bare wires on the end. So you do need to crimp on a couple of those connectors, which I always use the genuine Narva ones. I don't use the cheap stuff from Super Cheap. Because you're still playing with 12 volt power and the possibility of starting fires, you do need to make sure any 12 volt or any electrical work is done properly. If in doubt, get that done by a professional. I'm not recommending to do this yourself, but it is quick and easy, and I assume most people have done minor 12 volt wiring themselves. But that's all we need to do. You can crimp that straight on. That one might be a little bit short on the end, so I might strip a bit of wire, because once you're in underneath that bed area, you want it to be plug and play. You don't want to be in there trying to get your crimping pliers in there on angles in between pipes and everything else. So it's a lot easier to do it on the table right here, right now. So we'll just strip a little bit of that just to give us a bit more decent length. A pair of these wire strippers are the go, makes it so easy. You can always trim a little bit of that off, about that much. You can see how long the connector is, and that'll just slip straight on there and crimp that on. It's all safe and secure. No exposed bare wires poking out that's going to cause a short or blow fuses. Crimp the earth on. Same thing. That is ready to go. I find it a lot easier getting in and working from this side than trying to be out there. There's not a lot of room. At least here you can reach in under there a little bit. Prop that cover up so it makes it a bit easier to get in there. First off, when you're replacing water pumps or doing anything on the water line, as you would have seen in the video there not long ago where I was working installing that water saver valve under the van, I forgot to turn the water off. Well, I actually turned the water off but didn't depressurize the line and got drowned. So always make sure that your water pump is switched off and no pressure in the lines, including your hot water, because you don't want all that water spurting around under there. So hopefully you can see what's going on. There's not a lot of room. So basically your water pump you've got your electrical connections, just those spade connectors. So we've already got those on, ready to connect, so we can unplug those. So they're unplugged. Next thing we want to disconnect is your water line. So you've got John Guest fitting this side, and the other side, it actually screws on with the filter, the inline filter, just screws straight onto the pump. So we do need to disconnect that one, unscrew that. So that's your water in on that filtered side. Just got to make sure that your new pump is the same direction of flow. Now the John Guest fitting, and that's where the 13mm spanner comes in handy. You slip that over the pipe and push that little fitting in on the end, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Push that fitting in with a bit of pressure, 2 hands, and it just pops out. And that's it. Your pump is disconnected from the water lines, disconnected from your 12-volt power source. You got 4 screws in the bottom. They need to come out. Now they are rubber mounted, which is more for vibration and keeping everything quiet. Always got to make sure that it's fixed down firmly, but you don't need it fixed and screwed in too firmly that you're possibly going to pull your screws through that rubber mounting. I always use a flat-headed screw, just gives it that bit more to hold it in place. And that should be it. This should be right to remove the pump now. Nothing holding it. Lift it up, you will get a few dribbles. And there we go. Now I did just put this pump in only a few months ago because the other one, like I said, it died. So I know this pump is still in good condition. It's nearly new. So that one will go under the fridge on our drinking water and replace the other one that's on the way out. There we go. Exact same SureFlow 4009, replacing with the Seaflow RV Supreme Mark II. There's all your details written on there. So 45 psi, 55 psi is your pressure, but I'll show you that shortly towards the end of the video, how you can adjust your pressures and make sure everything's pumping spot on. Now all we need to do, remove your protective caps on there. You don't need them. So we've got our same connectors, positive and negative. They're ready to go. Remove the John Guest fitting. Now I have been told that with new pumps you'll void your warranty if you put plumber's tape or thread tape on there. Because they've got that black washer inside, that is your sealing point. I don't know how putting plumber's tape on there will void your warranty, so I won't be putting plumber's tape on there just in case. Double check the flow's the same, screw that on. It doesn't need to be super tight, but I always just put a spanner on just to make sure it is firm. Make sure that rubber seal is bedded properly. Then on the other side, you've got your water filter. That just unscrews. Bit of water will drain out of there. On that one, it doesn't have the rubber washer. It's actually like a flared joint inside. So it screws into there and bonds firmly to the pump without using thread tape. But I will keep a close eye on it once it's all installed to make sure that there's no leaks. And that there is ready to go back in. That's all it is. Now the worst part of having the pump going in and facing this way is your adjusters for your pressure and your bypass are up against that wall, which makes it very awkward to get in there once I show you how to adjust it properly. Just got to make sure your wires are hanging out where they should be. Them screwed in place, getting squashed. Now the mounting holes are identical. So I'd say it's nearly the exact same identical rubber mounting bracket. Although it's screwed down, all we need to do is reconnect. So your John Guest, that just pushes back in. Make sure it pulls back out and locks into place properly. And the other side is screw that one back onto the filter sure it's firm, doesn't need to be super tight. But that's it. Then it's just a matter of connecting those power cables, red to red and black to black. And that's it, we should have power to the pump. That's as easy as it is to install a new pump. Thanks to Cyclone Alfred, it's super humid here, even though it's a bit overcast today. Very humid still. And it's a bit hot in the van, I should have the aircon going. So with the new pump installed, we can make sure the tap's off, turn the pump on, can hear it running. Starting to suck up water. We'll turn the tap on and just purge the air out of the line. And make sure the pump's in tune with where it needs to be with those adjustments. So we'll suck a bit of air for a bit. Make sure you do the same on the hot water so that purges any air. You don't want any air or a half full hot water tank. It does need a minor adjustment in there. Now if you can hear how it's ticking, that means there's either a leak or just a bit of air in the line, most likely still. Yeah, can hear the air coming out. Just double check again for leaks. There's no leaks anywhere. The water on the floor is from when I took the other pump out. I'll show you how to adjust these pumps, which is very easy. You only want to do small amounts at a time. So in the end here, up close and personal look at your pressure switch. In the end of there is a tiny little Allen's key, like a grub screw. This one down here is your bypass. So with the pump, the new pump that we just installed, because it's slightly higher pressure, and I still think it's just air in the line, I do need just to back off the pressure switch just a touch. So I only go sort of 1/8 to a 1/4 turn at the most. Always remembering where you started. Count your turns if you get sort of going any more than a 1/4 or a 1/2, so you can always put it back to where it was. So that's adjusting the pressure switch. If you turn it clockwise, that'll give you more pressure, which means the pump will run and cut out at a higher pressure. But a lot of the time it won't go over the design limit of what the pump is. So 45 psi will be about as good as you get. And 45 psi is plenty to run our water saving valve and everything else that we use in the van. So that's pressure switch explained. I won't go into too much detail. It's a bit of trial and error, and that's how I learnt. Nobody showed me what to do or how to do. There's a few YouTube videos out there, but that's the purpose of this video, is to try and help you make a simple adjustment when there may not be anything wrong with your pump. You might not need to buy a new pump. Then your bypass, and it is a bit hard to show without it actually connected in water. If it's cycling, I can hear the other one cycling a little bit. It may just need a little tweak one way or the other. Not much, just 1/8 of a turn is usually all it takes. So that one, with your pressure, if it's cycling on a real low flow, you can just back that off a touch. Just the smallest amount is all it takes. So anti-clockwise to back it off, and that'll stop it cycling. You should be able to have it running at a very low flow, and we'll try it here. It's a very low flow. That's what I need to do to the new pump installed, so that it's not cycling, cutting in and out. Just need to back that bypass off a touch so that it's a constant flow, because once you increase it, it's fine. But on that very low flow, that's all it is. Not that you're going to use a very low flow very often, but I will just adjust that so it's set 100% correctly. Once you increase the pressure, it's fine. So it just needs that bypass backed off just a little bit. Oh, so after fiddling around in there, with that tiny little 2mm Allen key, I found out it's actually Phillips head to get in there and adjust it. But you can't fit your Phillips head in there where the pump is mounted. But we'll see how we go here. So I just had to unscrew it off the floor again. You can hear it cycling, and that just gives you a bit of flexibility to get the screwdriver in there, going by feel to find it. Once we get it in there, we can just back that off a little bit. So once you adjust your pump, both your pressure switch and the bypass, this is the end result of what you get. You should be able to just have a trickle without the pump cycling. So if you're conserving water, you just need a dribble. You want to wash some lettuce leaves or brush your teeth or whatever, you don't have to have it going flat out. So it'll run. If your pump's not adjusted properly, it'll just pulse off and on, which is no good for the pump. And then full flow, it's running sweet, and it shuts off immediately. So that's your pressure switch on the shut off, but a combination of pressure and the bypass. And that's all there is to it. It does get a little bit technical, but knowing how these switches work on the back, and like I showed you there, I should have checked on the other pump, it actually had a Phillips head that you use to adjust these, but the Sureflow pumps use that little 2mm Allen key. They're clockwise to increase your pressure, anti-clockwise to decrease your pressure. Then to get that low flow, you adjust your bypass until the pump stops pulsing and cycling in and out. So that's basically all it is. Pressure switch adjustment and your bypass adjustment. And once you got those adjusted properly, it should be running Mickey Mouse. So a couple other things that may affect your water pump or its operation if it's not working correctly. You possibly got a leak somewhere, and it only takes the tiniest little drip and the pump will pulse off and on every now and then if it loses that bit of pressure. So if your pump is cutting in and out only for that split second, it's possibly a leak somewhere, and it only takes that drip. So you can have a look over your plumbing, make sure there is no leaks, the tap's not slightly on, because it doesn't take much for that pump to cut in and cut out. A big one that you probably get quite a bit is air in the line. If there's air in the line, it doesn't matter if it's near the pump or right up the other end usually, that just creates that bubble in the line, and it's got to compress that to actually for the pump to turn off. So if there's air in the line, that'll cause your pump to run sort of intermittently or not shut off at all. If it's trying to compress air, which it won't do in the pipe, or it'll take time to build up that pressure before the switch cuts in and turns the pump off. Just need to go around and purge all that air out of your lines. Need to turn every tap on. You get a few bubbles out of the line, and hopefully that's all the air gone, and then it's right and it'll shut off. Another simple one is air in the line. But before you go running out buying a new pump, a couple of simple things just to check. Sometimes it's only a minute adjustment on that pressure switch or your bypass on the pump itself. No need to go and replace the pump. Just a Allen's key, simple adjustment, and most of the time that'll fix the problem. But that other pump we had, it was making some horrible noises after 10 years of use, and I'd say its time was up. It was noises coming from the motor which sounded like metal on metal. It wasn't real good. One big thing, we always carry a spare pump that you can do a 15-minute replace the pump if one dies on you, because if you're out somewhere and you're parked up for 2 weeks, and guaranteed it'll happen on the first day too, not the last day, your pump will die or something will happen and you got no replacement, and then you're trying to source another one, or you got to cut your trip short and go home. But if you got a spare pump, you can just throw that in quick and easy, 10-15 minutes, and you're on happy holidays again. So I've always carried a spare pump, and now I've got 2 spares because one's on the way out, or that motor's pretty much gone in it, but you got all the other spare parts there, being a diaphragm pump, your pressure switch and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. So I've got spare parts as well, so we can rebuild the pump and make one good pump out of 2 if need be in the future. Always pays to plan ahead, have those spares just tucked away under your lounge or somewhere that can be out of sight, out of mind. At least they're there when you need them. Same as all these new fittings that come with the new pump, hang on to them, keep them as spares, because you never know when something might crack or break, and guaranteed it'll happen when you least expect it. So both these pumps that we bought ourselves through Outback Equipment. And the one was a couple of years ago and it's been travelling around with us just as a spare, and the other one I just bought around Christmas time this year just as a backup pump and something with a bit more pressure, just trying a few things before we head off on the road full time. So I'll leave a link in the description for Outback Equipment. So hopefully you got a bit of useful information out of that, and hopefully it helps you out if you're ever in trouble and looking for a quick repair or an adjustment on your pump, no matter where you are. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Thanks for your support. Give us a big thumbs up. Make sure you hit that big red subscribe button. Follow along for more tips and tricks in the future. Plus, you get to follow our adventures wherever that takes us. See you out there.